What's up, fellas? In today's video, we're going to be talking about the Houston Rockets because this is a team that, of course, was in the news constantly. What's going to happen with James Harden? Where is he going to get traded? What are they going to get it back for him? And then once he was moved, all we talked about was the pieces going from here to there to there to there. And now, ever since then, things have quieted down. We haven't really paid attention to the Rockets. We haven't really talked about the Rockets. And I'm here to tell you in this video that we should be. They're playing extremely well in the post-James Harden era here very early on in it. And I'm going to talk about exactly what's going right for Houston and what it means for the rest of their season in today's video. But quickly before we get started, if you're new here, what's up? My name is Tucker. I upload NBA stuff on this channel twice a day, every single day. So it's a great place for consistent NBA content. If you enjoy the videos, a great way to let me know is by leaving a like rating on the video. It doesn't take very long and it helps me out a ton because it helps get the video out to more people on YouTube. And you can check me out at various socials at the bottom of the screen. They're in a link tree down in the description below. With all those things said, let's talk about the Houston Rockets. So the big headliner here is that in the post-James Harden era, the Rockets in their last 5 games have won every single game. And that would seem a little bit strange considering the fact that, yes, they got good value in return for Harden, but not all of it would have helped them immediately in this season. Yes, they get Victor Oladipo back, they get a couple of other role player type guys, but other than that, it's a lot of future stuff. It's a lot of picks, right? So you're thinking, you know, the Rockets should be good eventually as a result of the Harden trade, but immediately they should be significantly worse. And talent-wise, like, yes, it's still a step down from an MVP caliber player in James Harden to Victor Oladipo, Dante Exum, Rodion Kurucs. However, since Harden has left, there's clearly a lot of things going right here in Houston, and we're going to talk about what exactly those are. So the first thing is pretty obvious, right? Like when you don't have this Harden thing hanging over all the time, hanging over you all the time anymore, it certainly helps. It helps team chemistry. It helps morale. It helps everybody know what their role is on a given night because Harden was missing a good amount of games, and the games that he was playing, he wasn't playing particularly well. And now it's just so much clearer the direction of the team moving forward. And the fact that these are our guys, these are the players we're going to be rolling with moving forward. And that is a huge weight to have off the shoulders of this team, and I think that certainly helps. And also creates a more complete and a more unified roster. You know, as great of a player as Harden is, not having him there opens up other opportunities for other players on the offensive end. And then, of course, defensively, when fully engaged, Victor Oladipo is a significant upgrade over James Harden on the defensive end of the floor as well. So those are some of the obvious things. However, a couple of other things to keep in mind with this 5-game winning streak specifically. Now, the competition has not been great. It's not like they're playing some of the best teams in the league. They beat the Pistons, Mavs, Wizards, Blazers, and Pelicans in that order. However, it does give us some insight into what this Rockets team is going to look like post-James Harden, at least for this season. And so far, that has been the best defensive team in the entire league over this 5-game stretch. They're holding opponents to just over 102 points per game over the last 5 games. And if that was a season-long mark, that would be the best number in the entire league. And it's pretty easy to see why, right? If you're going from a 1-to-1 comparison, when Oladipo is healthy, locked in, and engaged, he's a significant upgrade over James Harden on the defensive end. And there's just an overall commitment to the defensive end from this roster. And when you look at it, they've got some really good personnel to make that happen as well. You know, when John Wall and Oladipo are both engaged, they can be good defenders. PJ Tucker, they've got Christian Wood, who's done an okay job protecting the rim. A lot of different things going into it, and then just, increased effort because the vibe is just different without James Harden out there. There's a lot more, effort being put in on every single possession when you watch those guys. Now, it's not all just defense, however. I think that's a significant part of it. But offensively, even though they don't have the firepower that they had with James Harden, and on the season they have a bottom 10 offensive rating, what they do have is a lot of different players that can score on any given night. And in the past, if James Harden was having an off night, it was going to be difficult for them to put together a really, really good offense. But that's not the case anymore because when you look at the roster, they've got John Wall, they've got Eric Gordon, they've got Victor Oladipo, Christian Wood, DeMarcus Cousins. And on any given night, any of those guys can score 20 or more points. And so if Oladipo's off for a night, or John Wall's off for a night, or Boogie's off for a night, the other guys step up and they're able to put together enough points combined with that newfound defensive effort to win a lot of basketball games. And that's what's been happening over the last couple of games. I mean, there are games where, Cousins scores 25 points one night, and then the next game he scores 5. And Christian Wood doesn't play one night, but Eric Gordon has a big game. And when you look at it as a whole, it's a pretty complete roster, not only with the 5 guys that I mentioned, Cousins, Wood. Cousins hasn't been great, but he's had some moments. Cousins, Wood, Gordon, Wall, and Oladipo, but also some complementary guys. PJ Tucker, Daniel House, a lot of really, really interesting players on this Houston roster. And what it points towards is not only a brighter future in Houston than I think people would have anticipated coming into the year because of just how weird all the Harden stuff was and just the, the strange kind of vibe around the team. But it also points towards a team that this year could potentially be a postseason team. I mean, I know that the competition isn't great, and you'll expect to, kind of have a different opinion of these guys if they start to lose against some better teams in the league rather than, the Wizards, Mavs, Pistons, Blazers, and Pelicans. Blazers and Mavs are obviously talented. The other three, not so much. And, we'll kind of see how that develops throughout the year, but I'm not sure how they could look any better through this 5-game winning streak than they have, both defensively as well as just, overall offensive approach, having multiple guys to kind of, attack and create offense on any given night. So what they remind me of at this point in the post-James Harden era is a little bit of last year's Thunder team, right? And that kind of tracks because, you've got the super high usage, superstar player that puts up a ton of numbers. You've had success with them in the past, Russell Westbrook or James Harden, either way, whether it's the Thunder or the Rockets. And once that guy moves on, you kind of just figure out a way to make it work. You know what I mean? And without the high usage, some other guys step up. The guy that you get in return in the trade, and for the Thunder, it was Chris Paul. For the Rockets, it's Victor Oladipo. That guy steps up, and you're just a good, solid team. Like, you've got different options. Like, there's Chris Paul over here, there's SGA over here, there's Danilo Gallinari, there's Steven Adams. And you look at the Houston roster, and again, the guys we talked about, Cousins, Wood, Gordon, Wall, Oladipo. On any given night, any of those guys can play well. And when you put in a good level of defensive effort and you've got a good amount of perimeter and scoring talent, then you're good to go. And I think now is a good time to give the Rockets some praise for, putting together a pretty solid roster. I mean, the Russell Westbrook thing in Washington has been a disaster. I don't think that you can say, that Wall has been worse than Russell Westbrook this year. And they got a first-round pick out of it. They signed Christian Wood on a deal that looks like an absolute bargain right now with how well he's playing. He's been a statistical machine. Boogie's had a few good games. I don't know if he's necessarily someone to be super excited about, but he's been out there and doing some things. And if, even if things did start to go downhill a little bit, or they're just, they're not quite as good as they want to be, right? And they're like around a 500 team, they still have options to move some of these guys. You can move Eric Gordon for value. You can move PJ Tucker for value. And then even if it came down to it, if you didn't feel confident in your ability to re-sign Victor Oladipo at the end of the season, you could re-sign him for value as well. So there's a lot of different options here for Houston. And I think that, in an immediate sense, right after this Harden trade, they've done about as good a job as you could expect. And again, I think there's a lot of parallels between the post-Harden Rockets and the post-Westbrook Thunder to this point. And I also have to give credit to Coach Stephen Silas for navigating what was an incredibly difficult situation. And for the most part, he did pretty much everything right and has been able to put together a group here that has been playing extremely well. And, I don't know what it's going to look like when they start playing some better teams, but just to be able to navigate the Harden thing and to get to this point with some semblance of team chemistry and now a team that appears to be really coming together is a huge, huge deal and a huge positive. And I want to make sure to give him credit for that. Now, in terms of overall moving forward here for this group, the Oladipo thing still kind of hangs over them because they have to make a decision on him at the end of the year. They have to figure out what they want to pay him. They have to see if, he wants to return to Houston. It seems like he's pretty happy there. I mean, they're still trying to, shake off the rest and figure out, what really works for him and make sure that he comes back healthy and all those different things. But I mean, that's the big piece here that they still need to figure out as it relates to what they got back in the Harden trade, because everything else is picks and like Dante Exum and Rodion Kurucs, you know what I mean? So like, the picks are going to be fine. Those two guys might be something. But if you lose Victor Oladipo for nothing this offseason, that's a significant piece of the Harden trade and to this point of this new team now that you're going to be losing out on. So I think as we get closer to the trade deadline, that is someone to keep an eye on as possibly, a player that Houston could look to move if they don't feel confident in their ability to re-sign him, or just kind of keep an eye on like how happy Oladipo is, how many opportunities he's getting. Does he seem like, a guy that's happy with this new roster? And then ultimately, is he going to be a guy that the Rockets are comfortable committing $30 million a year to? Because I think given the climate of this, 2021 free agency, with so many teams having a lot of money, I think that Oladipo is going to command a significant contract if he continues to play well. And we know that he wanted a raise from about 20 to 21 million that he was making in Indiana. So somewhere between 25 and 30 seems realistic at the moment for Oladipo if he continues to play well when he does play. And that has to be a consideration for Houston. So keep an eye on him as a possible trade target if they don't feel good about the ability to re-sign him, or just keep an eye on him as a whole and see in terms of, how happy he is, how comfortable he is, how likely it seems Oladipo would be to re-sign. But at the end of the day, with the exception of that, all positive things happening right now in Houston. We'll see what happens when they play some more difficult teams. They've got a couple of games against the Thunder coming up, and then we'll kind of see them against some better competition, really get to evaluate what the Wall, Oladipo, Eric Gordon, PJ Tucker, Christian Wood, DeMarcus Cousins, Houston Rockets look like. But right now, it's all positive signs. there in Houston. But that is going to be the end of the second of today's videos, and I thank you all very much for watching. Once again, as I said in the beginning, my name is Tucker. Hope you guys enjoy the content. If you did, then be sure to check out the boxes on screen for more videos from me. You can also sub to the channel, as I mentioned in the beginning. You can like the video to help get it out to more people on YouTube as well, and you can check me out at various socials at the bottom of the screen and a link tree down in the description below. With all those things said, hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day, and I will see you all next time.